Well, hello everybody. I'm Bob and I'm in Thailand, but the story I want to tell you is about Taipei. It was 96 hours I never expected to spend there. It was also, well, I can only say a lot of people got hurt before I ended up with a happy ending. Stay tuned. I'll tell you all about it. I was booked to go to Kathmandu, Nepal in April of 2015, but the 7.8 earthquake that killed 9,000 people and injured 22,000 changed my plans. China Eastern Airlines traded my tickets for Taiwan, so that's where I went. Here's the story. Taiwan is an island nation slightly larger than the U.S. state of Maryland. Its neighbors include China to the west, Japan to the north, and to the south, the Philippines. Mountain areas to the east may reach heights of 3,600 feet with lush tropical vegetation. To the west are plains in most of Taiwan's 23 million inhabitants. After arriving in Taipei, the capital, I checked into the Wing Hotel, which was centrally located near a number of attractions. For $15 a night, I got a large, comfortable room, but paradoxically, the elevator was only slightly larger than a phone booth. After I unpacked, I took a short walk to get my bearings and found this Chinese church decorated with lanterns in a small park near my hotel. The interior was lavishly decorated, but being outside looking through glass, I couldn't see the entire area to the right. Next morning I got out early because it was supposed to be hot. I was not disappointed. Although I lived in Thailand and have been to high humidity U.S. locations like Houston, Corpus Christi, and Miami, I believe Taiwan took the honor of being the most humid place I've ever been. I headed down the neighborhood streets until they broadened, passing a deer sculpture, an iconic raised building located in the median of a 4-lane road, and the Taiwan National Weather Service, where a 65-foot thermometer said it was 29 degrees Celsius. That's about 85 for the metrically challenged among the viewers, and it was going to get hotter. Before I circled back to the hotel for breakfast, I saw the 101 building, which is also known as the World Trade Center. At this time, it had the fastest elevator on planet Earth. After breakfast, and later after dark, I went to the Chiang Kai Shek Memorial Plaza. Chiang Kai Shek was the leader of Taiwan from 1949 when he flew from Taiwan from Chengdu, China, where his army was surrounded by Japanese troops until his death in 1975. During his retreat from the Japanese, he adopted a scorched earth tactic and burned one Chinese town, killing around 20,000 Chinese, and blew up a dam flooding another Chinese city. These buildings include the National Library, the Concert Hall, and a memorial to Chiang Kai Shek, where he is buried. There is also a quiet pond on the plaza. The White Building is his final resting place. The brightest building in the evening on the horizon is the 101 building. There's a lot of shrubbery surrounding all of the buildings. That is the Concert Hall, all lit up for an event. The heat of the day was still present, with temperatures approaching 100 in the early evening. I had on a t-shirt and blue jean cutoffs, so I wasn't dressed to attend the concert. One last look down the plaza from in front of the memorial. That evening I checked out the Snake Street Night Market. The market has 2 hallways with shops and restaurants on both sides of the street. This is the view behind where I was standing for the previous picture. I suppose Snake Street Market wouldn't deserve its name without a snake. This very well-fed python seems to fit the bill. It was still pretty warm, so I opted for a Taiwan beer, and I have to admit, it's pretty good beer with a rather boring name. Next day, I checked out Ban Hod Park, a large natural area not far from the 101 building downtown. A circular pond surrounded a heavily wooded island, and it had lots of waterfowl spread around the pond in various levels of activity. That mother duck is feeding the kids popcorn thrown by a tourist. I borrowed some popcorn and got this black swan to come closer. It wasn't interested until I had the popcorn. I suspect this might be a turtle dove, or is trying to become one. Turtles sensed no threat and continued to share the log. Next, I spotted this scene. That is easily $40,000 worth of camera equipment sitting there. I wondered what the attraction was. That guy third from right with the plaid shirt is a Federal Express pilot who flies from Australia, Taiwan, and takes a day off in Taiwan before continuing to Anchorage, Alaska, and then back into Memphis, Tennessee, which is FedEx's hub. The attraction was this nesting barbet. Barbet means five-color bird in Chinese. The perky bird was panting because of the heat and took short flights periodically, quickly returning to the nest with twigs. With so many photographers set up, I began to suspect Taiwan had a lot of bird watching. That proved to be true at my next stop too. The Taiwan Library and Museum is in front of the Taiwan Botanical Gardens and has a quiet pond behind it. Along with some artists, some photographers, and some tourists, I checked out the garden. These guys remind me of some truck drivers I knew back in the U.S. Their images were on the door to a smaller building back in a shady area south of the pond where some people were doing Tai Chi. This lady photographer is set up to get shots of ducks. I like the coordinated camouflage hat, tripod, gloves, and camera lens. She must have had knees of steel because she held that pose the entire time I walked around the garden. The creek feeding the pond had large koi, and the garden had some spectacular flowers in them. On my last day there, I rode the train out to the coast to the point the river meets the ocean. The town is called Tamshui. I chatted with a professor from Taiwan University and his son who was wearing a San Francisco 49ers hat. I asked what they thought about any possible danger posed by China, and he laughed out loud and told me I had it backwards. Chiang Kai Shek plotted to invade mainland China for 25 years. After arriving, there were numerous vendors with seafood stands along the boardwalk mixed with sit-down restaurants. Much of the boardwalk is shaded by trees, and loungers and fishermen sat in the shade next to the ocean. No sunburn for you. Occasional statues were found along the boardwalk with two more fishermen washing their poles from the shade. Riverboat rides were available on this old stern-wheeler riverboat. This statue represents some fractured history. Chiang Kai Shek did not arrive in Taiwan by boat, certainly not by rowboat across the open sea. Upon arrival, he was not a Christian, so the prayer position and he's in and the Bible are not a real thing. He did convert later in life after being shamed by his mother-in-law. Shang's wife's diary claims Shang was part of the Triad, a drug smuggling operation in Shanghai before the war. This sign made me consider the possibility Taiwanese take golf a lot more seriously than I do. Sheesh, a golf court for cheaters? Bad spellers. This is the Love Bridge, also known as the Sweetheart Bridge. It doesn't actually connect to another landmass, but rather a pier with shops. The good news is that the first place on the other side of the bridge is a chocolate shop. Yahoo! Leaving day, I was prepared to be bored at the airport waiting on an international flight, but discovered this puppet display of traditional hand puppets in the departure concourse. Although the puppets were enclosed in glass and the terminal is reflected in some of the pictures, I thought you might like seeing the puppets, and they're interesting enough to photograph. The detail is amazing. Each iconic puppet has a story behind it and a type of character associated with it. Everybody's favorite is the clown. Several straw figures were a bit down the corridor, and before I arrived at my departure gate, this stunning mechanical dancing figurine caught my eye. Check this out. Well, thanks for hanging in there. We appreciate it. We are a channel that swaps subscribes. So if you subscribe to me, I automatically subscribe back to you. It'll help us both get to the monetized part of our lives before I turn into a cyber celebrity by being dead. Thanks for watching. Come again.